social gatherings. So this is where the ladies would sip their tea, do their writing and sewing, and play on this 1910 Fisher upright piano in the corner, which was the last of many pianos the family had. There were lots of talented musicians in the family, especially Lavinia, and those are her original songbooks on the bench. On top of the piano are Mr. and Mrs. Croft from Charleston, South Carolina. Their son William was a businessman and an engineer who came to town in 1886 on a business trip and met and fell in love with Kate Shute, who was one of William Dixon Shute's daughters. We have a picture of Kate with her siblings here. She's in the front with a white collar, and as you can see, she had 3 sisters and 1 brother. Now, in those days, her brother would have inherited all of this land, but about 2 years after this picture was taken, he drank a bad batch of unpasteurized milk and died of food poisoning at the age of 19. He didn't get married or have any children, so then the property was divided between the 4 girls since there were no male heirs. All right, we do have a better picture of Kate in the gentleman's parlor, so now we're going to make our way into that room. Once again, just going to remind everyone not to touch anything.
I'm standing right here. Okay. This is pretty cool.
Alright, so between our windows right here, we have a portrait. It's not Kate, but do any of you guys know who it is? You have seen her already in this house. No guesses? Well, that is Lavinia Lanou, whose picture was in Lavinia Hilliard's brooch in the other room. And if you looked very closely at the brooch, you can see that it's actually the same picture that's in the brooch. So we just got this one restored and brought back to us. Very excited that it's in the Croft house again after all these years. And above the fireplace is Kate's wedding portrait. She married William Croft here in this house in 1888, and they had 2 daughters, Margaret, who was born in 1889, and Elise, who was born in 1894. Now, the girls had an unusual childhood because in 1902, William Croft moved his family down to Cuba to start a concrete business there. We have a picture of their house in Cuba on top of our bookcase, so as you can see, he did very well for himself. Now, he and the 2 girls really liked Cuba, but Kate was very homesick, so every year she'd take the girls with her, and they'd stay here for up to 6 months at a time. Whenever they'd visit, they'd always bring the bird cage in the corner with them and bring back tropical birds from Cuba as pets. So I know it can get a little bit confusing with who married who and who lived in this house when, but the most important thing we want you to remember from our tour is that Margaret and Elise loved animals. From the time they were really little to the time they were very old, it was always their passion in life. Years later, when they were living here permanently as very frail, elderly ladies, they'd get wheelbarrows and walk up and down Nolensville Road for miles just to look for animals that had been hit by cars, so that they could bring them back here and either try to nurse them back to health or at least give them proper and decent burials, because they believed that all creatures deserve to be treated with respect and dignity, and that the animals deserve better than to be on the side of a road. Alright, so this was our gentleman's parlor. So where the men would smoke cigars, sip brandy, and talk about politics, because proper Victorian ladies in those days were never supposed to be exposed to such things. All of that happened in here. So you probably noticed we do have a lot of books, and yes, they're all original to this house. In fact, what's out here is just a small percentage of all the books we inherited from this family. They left us about 1,700 books. Most are in storage in our attic now, and the oldest date back to the 1760s. Most important book, though, is the family's Bible, which is on its side up here, because that's where we get most of our information about them from. They didn't have birth certificates in those days, so they'd record all their important dates like births, weddings, and deaths in the Bibles, and these kinds of Bibles are still legal documents in court today, if anyone ever has to go that far back for any reason. Are there any questions about the first floor of the family up until this point? No? Well, I'm going to send you guys upstairs now. Linda's up there. She's going to show you the bedrooms and tell you the rest of the story.